Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another Lockdown Live on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. We've got a bit of cloud outside here in the Western Cape, more thunder conditions than what it is a cold front, but stunning day. Wish the weather could be like this every single day. Right, so today we're going to have another interesting chat. I'm going to be chatting to a wildlife photographer by the name of Villiers Steyn. Villiers is based up in Limpopo, if I'm correct, and he has done some amazing wildlife stuff that I've seen on Facebook. We've chatted a couple of times on Facebook and the likes. Never met in person, and I do think it's time for, in case I go up and visit the in-laws again in that part of the world. So yeah, we're going to chat about a couple of interesting things, wildlife photography, and then also about generating an income from your photography, and not just in shooting for people, but in a passive type income. So I know Villiers has got a couple of online courses and also does some stock photography. So let's see where that conversation takes us. Oh, I'm having a lovely beer. It's a Saturday afternoon, and on Saturday afternoons, you should have a beer. Right, here we go. Hello.
That should be better. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Brilliant. I can hear you as well.
How are you?
Good, and you, man?
Good. It's a weird and wonderful time we live in. We've chatted a good couple of times on Facebook, and now this is like the first time we get to meet is over the internet.
Yeah, exactly. This lockdown has brought about a few new things for all of us, but a lot of it in a good way.
Yeah. I like the picture behind you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's one my wife drew. It's keeping her very busy drawing this sort of lovely style. She actually uses some of my photographs as outlines and then sort of does her own thing to it.
Oh, that's amazing. That'll actually make a really awesome tattoo, to be honest.
She actually does design tattoos sort of on an ad hoc basis for people. So since she started spreading it, quite a few people have actually asked her for specific designs.
Okay. Well, we can chat about that in a bit, and
yeah, definitely,
and all that kind of stuff, because I think that will be quite cool.
Yeah, it would be fantastic. Well, look, I'm open to suggestions. I'm really enjoying this opportunity, not only because I'm bored, but because I really miss chatting to people.
Are you also having a beer?
Yeah, well, no, I'm having a water day. The lockdown has me on it's the first time in my life that I can actually do a proper exercise routine, because as a photographic safari guide, I'm away sort of at least a week or two every month. But for the first time, I actually have a chance to actually get into a fitness routine, and yeah, so I'm trying to hydrate.
There's lots of water in beer as well.
It's also nice and hot in Hoedspruit again. We've had a cold spell, and now suddenly today, yeah, it's nice and hot again.
Oh yeah, it's amazing part of the country.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't remember now. Does Hoedspruit still fall in Mpumalanga, or is it Limpopo already?
No, we're in Limpopo. We are probably about 20 kilometers, so 25 kilometers from the border, just on the northern side. So the Auckland Road, if you drive to Auckland Gate, you're on the Mpumalanga-Limpopo boundary. So we're just north of that.
Yeah, no, Hoedspruit is a beautiful little town.
Yeah, it's a good place. Where are you again, Dewald? Are you down in Nelspruit?
No, I'm in Worcester. My in-laws live in Nelspruit.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I remember you were up a while ago when we last chatted. So, yeah, Flip, so you're on the other side of the country.
Yes.
Daar waar julle die koffie so Worcester.
Yeah, the Worcester's registration number is CW, and it stands for constant wind.
That sounds about right. No, lekker, man.
No, I love that. I love the northern part of the country, Limpopo and Mpumalanga. I've always said if I could choose, if I had to move out of the Western Cape, I would move to Mpumalanga.
Yeah.
It is
Well,
just,
my brother and sister-in-law lived in Stellenbosch for well over a decade. And then after they started visiting us here in Hoedspruit, they actually decided to move up as well. So they're now our neighbors. They live just down the street. So we literally have the two best places in the country on the opposite sides, you know, the Western Cape and the Lowveld. At least that's my opinion.
Well, I said to you, as my wife and I, as we spoke when we were up there last time, if we've got to take the kids to the aquarium for a day in the waterfront, so it's aquarium and you've got to go do a spur and buy an ice cream and whatever along the roads, and you've got to drive there, before you've even blinked, you've probably spent about 2,500 rand. If you're in Nelspruit or in Hoedspruit or one of those places, you can fill up your car with diesel or petrol, whatever, pack a picnic basket and spend the whole day in Kruger for not even a third of what it's going to cost you to go to the waterfront for a day.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you use a wild card, you go in for free, or if you're fortunate like we are, we live in one of the wildlife estates up here. So we've got our own little game drive route. So very often we don't even go into Kruger. We just do the little loop close to the house.
Yeah, well, it's and you'll probably see a lot more than what you'll see at the aquarium in a day.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah. So, Villiers, tell me quickly, what is it that you do professionally? And yeah.
Well, it's actually quite a long story, and I'll try and keep it, you know, not too short, but not too long either, because it kind of needs a little bit of explanation. But I've never really seen myself as particularly career driven. So I've always done a lot of different things. I'm very much more, let's say, skills oriented than anything else. So throughout my adult life, I've tried to develop my skills and then try and use those skills to create some form of income. So my background is in nature conservation. So I studied nature conservation through the old Technikon Pretoria, the old Tshwane University, or the now Tshwane University of Technology. So I finished my master's in nature conservation. But when I finished my thesis, and I needed to start earning some money, one of my big passions at that stage was photography. So I started my own photography business called Vision Photography. And for quite a long time in the city, I was still based in Pretoria, I photographed everything from weddings to corporate events and hosted some photographic workshops. But fortunately, the path led me to become a travel writer, which I did for about 8 years, writing for Go and Weg and Drive Out and a lot of local travel magazines. And then more recently, I started leading photographic safari. So I'm now a full-time professional photographic safari guide for a company called At Close Quarters. But it's about it's one of about 3 or 4 baskets where I have eggs in. So it keeps me busy for about a week, a month throughout the safari season.
Okay. Okay, there's obviously a lot of people that go study photography, and I get a lot of people that ask me, should they, or let me say, parents that ask me, should their kids go study photography? And I always say to them, no, listen, you're going to be wasting your money to go do a formal course. How difficult is it to become a professional wildlife photographer? And I've spoken to you and to Keith, and you probably know them as well. And it's not an easy road from what I understand.
Yeah, I think it's very important to distinguish between a professional wildlife photographer and a professional whatever other photographer. I certainly believe if you go and study photography and you've got your heart set on becoming a wedding photographer or a fashion photographer or whatever other photography you want to be, there certainly are opportunities. And I can't imagine that you'd be wasting your time, learning those skills. But at the end of the day, it's about what you do with those skills. That's the most important thing. And that goes for anything you study. But if you talk about wildlife photography specifically, it becomes a little bit more challenging because, when I started as a wildlife photographer, let's say about earning money about a decade ago, there was still quite a demand for wildlife photographs specifically. So I could sell those photographs to magazines and I could sell them on stock sites, etc., etc. Whereas at the moment, as a lot of you will know, the value of a wildlife photo really has decreased substantially, mostly because of social media and a lot of wildlife photos being available for free. I mean, we've all heard the story and we've all seen the threads on Facebook. But having said that, it's almost the fact that there are now so many amateurs with great gear that take great photographs. It may have sort of devalued the photograph, the wildlife photograph. But what it has done is opened this amazing opportunity for people like myself to teach people to take better wildlife photos. So I've always just kind of shifted with the time. So when the need shifted to people wanting to learn how to take better photos, I was, ready to start teaching them. And so that's a big part of my income at the moment. And a big part of what I do is helping people to take better photos. So as a wildlife photographer, yes, definitely there are opportunities to do that, but we won't all be able to sit in a waterhole in the middle of of Kenya, or live in the Kalahari for a year or two, like a lot of our other fellow South African photographers that have had these amazing opportunities to live in the veld all the time. It's not necessarily quite that easy.
Yeah, especially when you're married with kids and all that kind of stuff, it becomes increasingly more difficult to do that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm extremely lucky that I live in the Lowveld, so I'm close to a lot of the destinations where I teach. So sometimes I just nip out for a day, or even when I'm on a safari, if there's any emergencies at home, I can, be back within an hour and a half, at least if I'm in the Sabi Sands at Djuma, where we do our big cat photo safaris. But my wife also understands that I need my fix. So when I'm away for a week or two, if I recently did some trips to India where we photographed wild tigers.
Yeah.
At least she knows that, that's what keeps me happy, and she supports me fully. So I'm very fortunate in that side.
Cool. Tell me about that tiger trip of yours. How did that come about? How did you?
Yeah.
What was the?
It's something that I've always wanted to do, and the company that I guide for at close quarters, we do what we call a big cat photo safari in the Sabi Sands at a place called Djuma. And there, obviously, we focus on leopards and lions specifically, and we see them almost every day, almost every drive for that matter. So a lot of our clients, including a lot of them South Africans, they have a passion and obsession with photographing big cats. And then we added a trip to Mashatu Game Reserve, where I did my master's degree. I actually studied leopards leopard movements for 4 years. So I know Mashatu really well, and they've got incredible cheetah sightings, especially in summertime. So we added cheetahs to the list. And then suddenly some of our clients were starting to ask us, but what about tigers? They want to be able to photograph all of the big cats. So in November 2018, myself and Michael Dippenaar, who is the owner of At Close Quarters, we decided to go and do a site visit in India to go and find the best place to photograph wild Bengal tigers, in their natural environment, but still have as close to a Sabi Sands kind of experience that we could find. Because a big concern of a lot of people was that India's too crowded, or we're not going to see tigers, or it's just going to be too difficult to get there. And we were fortunate that we found this amazing place called Ranthambore National Park in the north of India. And we found the most amazing hotel and the most amazing hotel owner. And at the end of the day, we've now done 3 successful safaris, actually 4 successful safaris, I should say. My colleague Lance van der Vyver did one now in March as well. And we're photographing 7 to 8 different wild tigers on each trip. So yeah, it's Jungle Book stuff. All my sort of tiger fantasies came true.
Oh no, that is still a big one of the things on my ever-growing bucket list. One day.
Yeah, we all have that problem. The bucket is about this big.
Yeah, and obviously with this whole big COVID-19 thing, that has impacted your photography work immensely, because you work with a lot of international clients.
Sorry, Dewald, you just broke up there at the end. I'm assuming you said that it's obviously impacted our safaris. Is that right? Can you still hear me? Sorry, you disappeared as well. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay.
I said obviously the COVID-19 thing impacted you immensely because you work with a lot of international clients that either travel here or with you abroad to like India. So how does the industry look for you going forward?
Yeah, it's obviously tough. We certainly have had some clients cancelled, especially our international clients, and we obviously all totally understand it. So it's anybody's guess how long it'll take for people to be brave enough to travel again, especially people coming all the way from overseas. We are very grateful that we've got a very good South African client base, and the hope is obviously that as soon as we are able to move around freely and, more importantly, safely, that our South African clients will be desperate to go on safari. So it's very hard to say at the moment when I'll lead my next safari, but for the time being, yeah, everything that's right here next to me on the calendar, you know, it's got big question marks next to them. So it's hard to say what's going to happen. And again, it just shows you the importance of having some eggs in different baskets, because you know, a lockdown like this, or any kind of freak situation like this, can put someone under very, very big sort of financial strain.
I think a lot of the local photographers, be it weddings or events or corporate or whatever, all of them is impacted heavily right now. And I don't think the government relief fund is going to help many of them, because I don't think many of them can fill in all the criteria that is needed to get some of the funding. So yes, I totally agree with you on that front.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's where you know, I've always one of my goals is always to create different streams of passive income, and at the moment it's actually what's keeping us afloat is money coming in from stock sites or online courses. And ironically, the fact that the rand is so weak, it actually means I'm earning more money from the passive income, because I'm obviously being paid out in dollars. So yeah, we're in a very, very fortunate situation where there are some other streams of income without having to go out and take any photos. And it's definitely something that I would recommend to anybody that has, you know, that takes quality photographs on a regular basis or have skills to share, is to look into ways that you can share that with people online.
Yeah, I know you do a bit of stock photography, and I do quite a bit of that as well. And it definitely fills a couple of holes every month, the money that comes in from that. But
yeah, absolutely.
What I've seen with people is that, and I've got a lot of photography friends, and I'm drilling it into them every time we chat. Have you started your stock site yet? Have you done this? And they just don't have the discipline to start with it. And then a lot of them, they do the 10 initial images for Shutterstock that they need to upload and be vetted on that. And then they get rejected, and they just, oh, we'll do it later. And then 2 years go by and they haven't done it yet.
But you'll know as much as I do, Dewald, that it sits in front of you like a mountain. It's not an easy thing to become a stock photographer and to be disciplined. So you get all excited when you see the opportunity and you think, wow, I'm going to earn some money with my photographs. But it's either that first rejection, or it's the time that it takes, or it's the schlep of keywording those photographs. And if we talk about micro stock specifically, things like Shutterstock and so on, it's only going to be volume that really you know, makes it worthwhile at the end. So I'm not sure how many images you've got up, but it's taken years of uploading what ends up being a portfolio of thousands of photographs that's now, you know, bringing that income. And it's about quality, and it's also about, you know, spending hours on YouTube watching videos about what's, you know, what works the best. And actually going out and taking stock photos specifically, as opposed to just sifting through what you've got and hoping that some of it will sell. But what's nice is that, you know, even though it's little bits coming in every month, if you've got something else, you know, if you've got another income stream, what we do anyways is I take all that stock money and I put it into a savings fund, and it can pay for an overseas trip or some new equipment. So I'm really keeping it as a little bonus fund, and for the stock photography specifically, that's been really great.
Yes, the one thing that people forget with stock photography is that it is it is not as difficult as they think it is, because everybody thinks, right, you need to shoot people. And I do agree, people sell 10 times better than what wildlife or landscapes, for instance, does. But one of the things I've shot, we make kombucha at home. So we had to do a new batch one day. And I said to my wife, okay, right, I'm going to get the camera. And I took like 15 images, literally, of pouring in the new tea, putting in that little culture and covering it with a little lappy and whole bang shoot. 15 images, took 10 minutes. That thing sells on a regular basis, and I've keyworded also like step by step. So somebody will buy 4 images in one go instead of just one.
Yeah, exactly.
It literally cost me nothing. The edit, I could have shot it in JPEG and just uploaded it straight. I didn't even need to edit it at all. And I think that's where a lot of people are making the mistake. Look for stuff that people will use on a regular basis. Stupid things. I've got stuff. I did a shoot once where the guys were making their own animal feed, for instance. I took a photo of him holding animal feed like this in his hands. Just that image. I uploaded that to stock. That image sells every single day. Every day.
Exactly.
And it's not that you've got to put in a lot of cost into production. Yes, and if you do, you can probably get stuff that will really sell a lot. But it is not as difficult as people think it is.
Well, I think the thing is that if you start making the sums, you've got, that shot that makes you, let's say, just hypothetically, it makes you $5 or $10 a month. It's about now getting 100 more shots like that. So I think that's the problem, is that people, that for some reason, and I include myself, is that seems too big. Actually, how am I ever going to get to 100 shots or 500 shots that sell as good as that one? And the problem with a lot of people, and this mistake, is I try to do stock photography kind of on the side. So you try and cram it in maybe one day a month, or any little free time you have. But the problem then is you're not necessarily in the right frame of mind, or you don't have the right setup or the right product or subject. So my very sort of strong recommendation to anybody that takes it seriously is to try and commit to it for, and really set up a little studio or set up stock photography shoots specifically to go and photograph it, because otherwise you're just never going to get there. Otherwise you're just going to be sifting through photographs that don't really qualify, as those kind of shots that you just spoke about.
Yeah, no, we've done quite a number of shoots that we set up specifically for stock, and I'm also shooting quite a bit of stock video at the moment. I don't know, do you do video?
I do video, but not necessarily for stock. Simply because it's already quite a challenge when you're out on safari switching between video and stills. But what you have to remember is most of the time that I am out, I'm with clients that are clicking away in the background. So there's lots of shutter noise in the background, and cars are moving, etc., etc. But having said that, I have recently started doing a lot more videos, simply because I also started a YouTube channel. So the Safari Expert YouTube channel is all about anything safari related. But obviously that means having to take a lot of video clips as well. So I'm sort of really just starting in that world. Thoroughly enjoying it, but I certainly haven't considered or uploaded any video stock.
Yeah, it's video stock has got huge earning potential. In anything between $15 and $30 per HD clip that sells. So then,
well, again,
instead of having 100 images that make you $5 a month, you need 5 video clips that make you that could make you.
The problem again, Dewald, is trying to do it kind of in between. So if I'm leading a photographic safari with clients, if I now sit there and try and take a piece of video footage of a leopard on a termite mound that's going to be absolutely perfect, no shakes, perfect sound, it's just going to take away my sort of attention from my clients, and it's just not the right place for it. So again, if I want to take it seriously, I would have to go out to collect that specifically. So what I've been doing, at least for my YouTube channel content, a lot of the B-roll is I've booked trips to Kruger where I go out on my own, and if I know I need footage of a sunset and a riverbed and hippos and bird sounds or whatever it is, I'm doing it on my own, under perfect conditions without sort of divided attention. And that certainly, it's giving me, you know, my hit rate is just 100 times higher.
But see, the thing is that I want to say is, if you're with clients and they are busy shooting or talking, stock video don't need sound. You must strip off, you strip off all sound from the video. So if BBC or Discovery, whoever buys that video clip for whatever purpose, they will do a sound design on that from sound that they record again while they're in the field.
I didn't even think about that. That actually makes a lot of sense. That actually is a game changer.
And also, if you say that you go out and you go on these perfect conditions, if you record those sounds, you can sell those sound clips as stock as well for BBC. Let's say you're in the veld and there's a lion. There's probably 10 million of those clips online of a lion busy roaring, and you record it. You've got that audio now that you can also. Oh, let's say you record a video clip. You've got an onboard camera, onboard mic. And you are dead quiet, and the car's shocks are not squeaking or anything. You shoot that video clip, you cut the audio off, you submit the footage, and you submit the sound as two. Then you get two lines in the water instead of just one from one single video clip.
Well, thanks, Dewald. You've just made my lockdown a lot busier. I'm gonna have to go and look through everything that I filmed.
Exactly. Michael Dippenaar asked, I presume he's with you because you mentioned.
Yes, so he's the owner of At Close Quarters, the company that I guide for.
Yes. The thing with stock video is the maximum limit for a clip is 1 minute, and the minimum length clip is 5 seconds. Right. So now if you're shooting at 1080, 60 frames a second, for instance, on your camera, and there's like 2.5 seconds of perfect, or 3 seconds of perfect footage, which is too little for the cutoff. You cut that 3 seconds, you make it a slow motion clip, because then it's 6 seconds. So then if the person that buys it wants to speed it up to normal, he just doubles the speed on it.
Yep.
And it's back to normal again. So there's a skin a cat. And if you've got, and this is, and you might be able to correct me, if you're sitting on a cruiser full of people, I presume you're sitting somewhere in the back so you can talk to them forward?
I actually sit in the front, because for us the most important thing is actually to have communication with the ranger, so to get into position and to make decision making about where to go. But it does mean that I usually have quite a stable place to put a camera. I'm usually on a bean bag or something like that. So movement's only really an issue if people have got itchy bums on the back.
Yes. So you can, if you've got them set up, and I know I've worked with a lot of clients. I've guided some fishing stuff. So you want your client to get the first opportunity to get the shot. So if you, like you say, there's a leopard on a termite mound, you say to them, right, guys, look, there's a leopard. This is the settings I've got dialed in on my camera. I would suggest start there, ISO 100, 1/400th of a second, f2.8 in this light and whatever, where the bucky is. And then once they start clicking away, you can do your frame and just simply press record on your camera. So if the cruiser's not moving too much and your camera is mounted on a gimbal or beanbag, and you've framed your leopard on the termite mount, you can press record. You can carry on talking to them. Like I said,
no, absolutely. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. And at the end of the day, it's just about well, always thinking of your clients first, obviously, but then multitasking and you know, collecting the stuff that you need. So what I've been doing with the video content is I'm building YouTube videos that can bring more clients back to us. So in other words, trying to tell the story of a typical safari. For instance, on the Safari Expert YouTube channel, I've got some trip reports on our tiger safaris, on the India safaris, so that people can get an idea of exactly what to expect from something like that. So basically what you've told me now is that I just have more to do with the stuff that I'm already collecting, which is, and I think that's the way that aspiring wildlife photographers, and even wildlife photographers that already do it professionally, that's the way you have to start thinking, is what are all the different ways and all the different avenues where you can create some form of income, whether it's passive or not, to help you not just, you know, just come out so every month, but actually make a decent living, you know, and really feel like, you know, this is something that you can do until the day that you retire.
Yeah, it's difficult, and once you get into that mindset of, I think the mindset shift comes as soon as you get that first payout from your stock.
Yeah.
Because then you see, shit, okay, right, there's actually money in the bank here. So the effort I put in is actually bringing a return for me. Then you start thinking, okay, right, now you're busy on a shoot. Is there something I can photograph? Or like with this lockdown, I went to the mall yesterday and it was like dead quiet. There's not a soul going around. So I'll show it on the screen here quickly. I just took my phone and took a picture of the mall.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to upload this as an editorial image.
Absolutely. When I flew back from India and I went through Dubai, I was so close to doing it, but I was a zombie and I was obviously in a mask and it was my birthday and I just didn't have it in me to do it. But that's exactly what you need to do. You need to use those opportunities.
And on I had to take my wife to the ER for injection day before yesterday, Thursday afternoon. And I know one of the things that is in very short supply on stock sites at the moment is ventilators.
Mm-hmm.
While they were busy doing the injection stuff there, I said to the nurse, "You got a ventilator here?" She says, "Yeah." Why? I said, "I want to take some pictures."
No ways. There we go.
So I literally just took with my phone some shots, and I'm gonna upload this.
Yeah, you must upload it today.
Yeah,
that's clever. It's really clever.
Yeah, I've never uploaded any editorial stuff yet, so I'm going to first figure that out.
Yeah, no, I think it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. I mean, like you say, that's the sort of stuff that people are searching for at the moment. You got to use the opportunity.
Yes. Okay, right. I see Michael asked another question. He says, and where can we upload stock video? Which sites? If you've got a good portfolio on like Shutterstock and Adobe, I don't know, are you on Adobe?
No, I'm only on Shutterstock and Dreamstime and a few other ones, but I haven't actually opened an Adobe account.
Trust me, do yourself the effort. If you are a Creative Cloud member, you don't need to go through any vetting process whatsoever. You can literally import it directly from your Lightroom if you really want to go that way.
Brilliant.
But Adobe at this stage is half of what my Shutterstock is bringing in. So it is a really good income avenue. And the return per image on that is higher than, it's nearly double what Shutterstock returns per image.
That's interesting. I think Adobe, obviously over the last few years, have really taken the market by storm. So they probably have a very good reputation at the moment. So it doesn't surprise me.
The great thing with that is because Adobe plugs in directly into Lightroom and to Photoshop, creators out there, graphic designers, all these, they don't even need to leave Photoshop or Premiere or any of these and go directly and get a clip or an image that they can use in their project.
Yeah, exactly.
So to answer Michael's question on stock footage, you can upload directly to any of these sites like you do with any stock image, like you're doing at the moment. But I go through a platform called Black Box. Don't know if you've seen or heard of them.
No, I haven't.
It's a guy by the name of Pat McEwen who's in Canada, and he's a filmmaker. Also did a lot of wildlife stuff, like with polar bears and grizzly bears and stuff up there. And he was a full-time videographer. He did a lot of corporate gigs in the works. And he just said, well, the market is so small at the moment because there's so many people. And he built Black Box as basically a stock agency. But okay, how it works is I submit my video clip to Black Box. I upload only once. Black Box, then I do all my keywords and model releases and everything on Black Box, and they distribute it to the major stock platforms. So immediately you've got, we as creators only do one upload.
Yeah.
And they do the hard work of getting it to the other agencies. And because they are so big, I think they've got something like 25,000 contributors already. They've got a massive, big content pool. So the chance of your stuff being ranked high in searches is better. If somebody buys a clip on there, it's not going to be from Villiers Steyn. They're going to buy a clip from Black Box.
Sure.
So your name might not be connected to it like it is normally. And for that, they take a 15% cut of your earnings. So if you sold a clip for $20, they will put in their pockets $2.50. So you get $18. Yes.
Totally.
Yes. And the other magic thing with black boxes now is because there's such a huge pool, there's guys that do video editing and there's guys that do curation. They do the keywords and the descriptions. And you can work with these guys. So in case, okay, right, let's say I'm a curator and I do captions and keywords, you upload and you say, Dewald, right, I want you to do the captions and keywords for me. Then I say, okay, right, I'll do it for you, but I want the 20% cut of the deal. So that's where you can also make money. You upload it, Black Box takes their 15%, I get my 20% for doing all that work for you, and then you get the rest, or whatever split that you agree upon with that guy. And sure. I know some of the guys they've got really good curators. I know that Andrew's got a guy from Canada, and this guy's actually done a study of what is available on the stock sites and what is not there. So next time Andrew's going on a trip, the guy already said to me, this is the shot list he wants. He wants to see an elephant blowing mud over its back, a close-up of just the elephant's eye, for instance. So he gives him a shot list and says, these things are not available on the stock sites at the moment. See if you can get them.
Sure, that's amazing.
And then, so obviously a guy like that's going to take a bigger chunk of the income from the clip because he adds a lot of value. The chance of your clip selling.
It's still win-win-win.
It's win-win all the way. So yeah. There's definitely a lot of scope in that market. There's some guys that bitch and moan like always saying that why should they give away 15% and it's not. But since I went onto Black Box from submitting video content by myself, I have doubled my my video earnings per month versus what it used to be.
It's a little bit like going onto Shark Tank. You know, you've got a great idea, but if you've got some people on your side, you know, you're going to have to give away a little bit to gain a lot more.
Yes, exactly. Well, again, and again, with you guys see so many amazing things when you're in the field, and a lot of the footage that's on there is guys that went to Kruger for a weekend and he happened to see a freaking lion chasing a impala, for instance.
Yeah.
Where you get to experience those kind of things every day. You can almost, you knowing leopards very well, you can read them, you can know what's going to happen. So you can build an amazing portfolio with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's definitely something that I still need to dig into a little bit. But I think where I find myself at the moment is I've already, the other danger about living the way that I do is that you tend to sometimes divide your attention a bit too much. So you've got, you've just got your finger in a lot of different pies. And before you know it, you're doing 7 things sort of half, as opposed to doing 3 things really well. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why, at least for me, the stock photography side of things has been pushed a little bit to the background. But it's only because there are other things that have been worthwhile taking up my attention. So in between my safaris, when I have time at home, I do still do a bit of lodge photography. So there's quite a bit of, I do actually go out to clients to take photos. But I also have designed some online courses. So it's basically, it's in this sort of same kind of realm as stock photography, where you earn a passive income by creating products or selling products. But obviously, designing a course that has a potential to sell well means you've really got to buckle down and commit, for a month or 2 to really create it, where you've got, well-planned content, you've got great sound, great audio, great visuals, and something that really is going to stand out from the crowd. Because just like in the stock world, if it's not a photo if that lion photo doesn't stand out from the other 100 lion photos, it's not really worth it. So that's certainly kept me busy quite a lot over the last few years, and has been incredibly profitable. So I think the point is that there are really a lot of different ways that aspiring wildlife photographers can earn money, you know, with their photographs and with their skills.
Yeah, no, that's well, and the internet has made it like this. And I always say this to people: if you can't earn 10 Rand with the internet today, you don't want to earn 10 Rand with the internet.
Yeah, that's true. I totally agree.
It's so easy now. Take YouTube. Take YouTube, for instance. I don't know, how many subscribers have you got on your channel at the moment?
I think it's up to 550 or something like that, and I started it in January.
Well, that's fantastic. So if you, as soon as you hit 1,000, you're probably over your hours watch time limit. As soon as you hit 1,000 subs, you can monetize it.
Absolutely.
And then again, there you can also earn a great income coming from. That's where that latest sightings, the Kruger, that little young guy that did the Kruger thing, yeah. That's where they're making most of their money, is with their YouTube channel.
No, of course. I mean, it's I'm sure it's not a little bit of money. I think it's a lot.
Yeah, the more, obviously, the more views but if you get something there that completely goes viral, quick, it's,
I think
good money.
I think the clever business model that they have is that they don't necessarily have to film it. So because they're giving you a 40% cut of the income for that specific video. So I have a video on there, and I still get my monthly payouts. You know, so they get the public to film it, and they have the reach, and they've got the channel. So again, it's a win-win. So yeah, they you know, I reckon if you go and stay in Kruger for a few months and you just go and film clips for later sightings, you could probably already create yourself a little bit of a passive income, because you're bound to see a few really cool things.
If I may ask, how much have you earned from that clip roughly?
Oh, it's not much. It's probably only a couple of $1,000 over the few years. It was a clip of 2 monitor lizards fighting that I took years and years ago. It's actually very funny, because on later sightings, it's probably had, I don't know, a couple of 100,000 views. So that's why it's not bringing in big bucks. But the video clip did win me 50-50 felt focus many years ago. So I did get a car out of it. So it just shows you again that, and that's obviously why later sightings found it. They found it via the 50-50 felt focus route, because obviously try and source these interesting clips. So yeah, content is worth something.
How many years ago roughly was that?
That was in 2003. It was funny. My brother and I both filmed. So I started filming, and then I wanted to take stills. So I handed the camera to him. So we literally both filmed the video clip. So we entered together and we won together. So we sold the car and split the money.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. So 17 years ago, what car was it?
It was an ice cream truck. It was an old Toyota Condor. It was the first year that they didn't give a Land Rover away as a prize anymore, and yeah, for some reason they decided to choose the Toyota Condor. It's actually a great travel vehicle.
You could have converted that thing into one monster safari.
Yeah, I know. Well, its biggest problem was always very bad clearance. So it had the tiny little wheels, but they're great cars, great engines. So I've actually got nothing against the Condor. In fact, it's a great family car. It's a great Kruger car. It's got loads of space, and an engine that'll never die. It was the 3-liter diesel without the turbo.
Sure. No. So just looking at that one video clip has probably brought you in excess of close to 100,000 Rand.
I put it down for a deposit on a flat, and then put a tenant in there. So it was another stream of passive income. So it's that obviously was a very lucky situation. But I think the point is that content is worth something. Good content is worth something, and that's the one thing that I've learned from the YouTube side of things, is that if you keep pushing out quality content week in and week out, and you do it on a regular basis, that's when people are going to latch onto it, and that's when they're going to come back and back and back, and hopefully before you know it, there'll be a nice group of loyal followers that will take your advice. Do you want to go and photograph tigers? Come with us. Or Are you looking for a great pair of binoculars or a good camera? This is what I recommend. So obviously at the end of the day, through the Safari Expert YouTube channel, the hope is to not only help people make decisions and enrich their lives and entertain them, but also to create ways of you know, affiliate marketing and passive income streams. Definitely.
No, definitely. It's a, well, again, it is, if you're not going to put your balls on the block, you're not going to know. It's,
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Awesome. Right. So I know that you mentioned before we spoke about this, that you switched over from Nikon to Canon.
Yes, I did. So I actually, a lot of people don't know this, but I started on Canon. So when I was still a leopard researcher in Mashatu, digital photography was just, you know, the next big thing. It was, we're talking 2004, 2005. So the first digital camera that I bought, or DSLR that I bought, was a Canon 20D, which I still think is one of the best camera bodies that Canon ever brought out. And I absolutely loved it. I used it for many years. In fact, most of my 8 years of travel writing was done with Canon equipment. And then while I was in sort of my first or second year as a professional photographic safari guide, Nikon actually made me an offer to switch. So I think there was some kind of drive to get professional photographers to switch from Canon to Nikon. And I trade in my gear, at least my camera bodies, every third year anyways. So it was roundabout time to get some new equipment. And I thought, why not? You know, it's a great opportunity to get to know the Nikon system, especially as a photographic guide. It helps to be confident in the advanced menus and everything of both Nikon and Canon, which at that stage certainly was the two most used camera bodies. So I switched over to Nikon, and certainly didn't seem any difference in quality. It obviously takes a little bit to get used to the ergonomics of the camera and where all the buttons are and all that sort of stuff. But absolutely loved my Nikon equipment. But what started happening was my main camera body was a D850, and I had a 500 f4 prime lens on that.
Yeah.
So weight-wise, we're talking about the weight and the size of the moon. And then, you know, it was just, I did have a D750 with a 7200 on as well, but I often found myself in the Sabi Sands where we photograph leopards. I mean, it's literally once a month. I'm there for a week. The 500 was too tight. So it's definitely, I needed a little bit more versatility. I needed to be a little bit wider. And it started really hitting me when we started traveling internationally, flying to India to photograph the tigers, where suddenly you're having trouble at the airports because it's too, you know, your bag's too heavy. And then in the park itself, it's just, it's physically started getting too heavy. And then, you know, going to even simple examples, I see some owls in the garden, but now my big lens is packed away in a box. It's not just sitting there ready to quickly go and pick up and photograph something. So too heavy, too tight. It really started frustrating me. So the obvious question was, why don't I just buy a nice sort of longer zoom lens to add to my Nikon set? So I used to own a Nikon 80-400, the Mark II, which I despised. I really just didn't like the quality of it. I certainly don't like the quality of the Sigma or the Tamron 150-600 contemporary lenses. It's just not, it's not sharp enough for me, at least at 600. And then, you know, something like the 200-500, it's a really nice range, but it's big and heavy. You know, it's by no means a nice light lens. And the same for the Sigma Sport and the Tamron, what do they call it? The G2 or whatever it is. All the options, you know, those kind of options that they were for my Nikon camera just didn't make any sense. And I've always been a massive fan of Canon's 100-400 Mark II. It's very light. It's got great qualities. It's great value for money. And it's got a super range as well. So I just decided, so I switched over from Nikon to Canon because of 100-400. So it sounds like a silly thing, but I then decided to rebuild my kit around that. So sold all my Nikon gear, got the 100-400 with a 5D Mark IV, and, you know, bought a few other lenses and a second body as well. and it's changed my life. So I joke and I say I've downgraded to Canon because obviously I've sold my big prime lens, but the versatility, having just gotten back from India now with that 100 to 400, where I'm photographing, birds. I actually bought a D90 as well, or 90D, I should say. So with the crop factor body that's nice and light, on the 100 to 400, I'm doing my bird photography at 10 frames a second, and in low light for leopards and tigers, I've got the 5D Mark IV with 100 to 400. I'm in heaven. So yeah, I'm very happy with the change.
Why haven't you looked at the mirrorless cameras yet?
So I certainly have looked at it a little bit. I must be completely honest with you. The few times that I have held the bodies and looked through the viewfinders, it obviously feels very foreign when you look through those digital viewfinders for the first time. And I must admit, I disliked it so much that I decided it's not for me at the moment. And it's not that I don't think they take good quality photographs, and I certainly am very open to going that route in the future, but I needed to make a decision immediately. And my decision was to buy what I can afford with what I have. So if I sold the Nikon equipment, what do I have? And the sad thing about the mirrorless stuff, it's expensive. If you're going to buy brand new mirrorless stuff, it's not gonna be cheap. So I bought what I felt I needed for what I could afford. And yeah.
I bought the USR at the end of 2018. And everybody said, well, it's a mirrorless 5D Mark IV. It's got the same sensor and a lot of the same specs and everything. But the price difference was 17,000 Rand between a DSLR and the mirrorless. And that was basically for the flip-up mirror. So sure. I said to myself, I'm not going to spend 17 grand more to have the same thing with a mirror. But I'm honestly so happy that I went to mirrorless. That it is just so amazing. And I don't know if you watched the chat I had with Keith Connolly, we talked about that. Mm-hmm. There's and he's also still on DSLR. Mm. I honestly think that if you'll need to look at mirrorless very soon, otherwise the technology is just next level.
Well, I think that's the thing, is that you know, more and more of my clients are arriving with mirrorless cameras. So even just for their sake, you have to know how it works and how it differs and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, like most things, it's like asking someone to switch from an iPhone to an Android phone. It's a big ask, and you kind of feel the same when you do it and you switch on that mirrorless. It just feels foreign. So I think at this stage, I just wasn't ready to do that. And at the stage that it happened, it's not like I had the luxury over a month or two to get used to it. I literally sold, bought, jumped on a plane, and off you go. So it's also about just keeping some kind of continuity in what you do. And my sort of outlook on equipment and stuff like that, I can always sell and buy new stuff. I don't have to be a Canon shooter or a Nikon shooter or a 100 to 400 shooter or a 5D Mark IV shooter for life. I'm not a brand ambassador. I'm just someone that needs something to get the job done. So, you know, whether you use an Apple Mac or a PC, or whether you use a Nikon or a Canon, or whether you use a mirrorless or not, at the end of the day, for me, it's a piece of equipment. And as long as I can do my job, you know, it's the right thing. It's the right thing in my hand. So I look forward to testing it. I think what I really need to do, I actually just need to rent one or get one sponsored and go and do something. But that's part of the reason also I started the Safari Expert YouTube channel, is to be able to test gear. Yes. So my hope is that as soon as the following is big enough, I'd be able to phone up Nikon or Olympus, whoever it might be, and say, look, I'll just send me one. Let me go and test it. Let's go and see what this thing can do. So there's been a lot of thought put into starting the YouTube channel, and it is to give me the opportunity to really play around with those kind of things as well, and play around with equipment, visit places I wouldn't otherwise have had the opportunity to visit. So yeah, it's very exciting prospects, you know, in those regards.
Yeah, the new technology is that if that Canon R5 comes out, I think that one is going to be the complete game changer in terms of what it can do. And when, especially for the wildlife guys, it's going to have the wildlife IAF also built in, where it picks up the eye of the animal. So to give an example, on my 6D that I shoot with my DSLR, I had to focus and recompose the whole time because the outside focus points were not that great. On the EOS R, if I put that little block on whatever subject it is and I use my continuous focus, I can fire 200-300 shots, and from that I'll probably have 5 to 10 images that's not usable.
I heard when you and Keith were talking about it, and that's obviously amazing. But I must be honest with you, I was blown away with the Canon 90D's automatic face tracking when I do wildlife. So if I get the animal in the frame and the camera's set, and obviously it's got a nice flip and tilt screen as well, I literally just press on the animal's face and it locks perfectly. So what's that?
You shoot in live view.
Yeah, so you shoot in live view, and you literally get your frame set. So what I, for instance, did now with a tiger shot, a specific tiger shot that I really wanted, is I just filmed the road, and then I wanted the shot of the tiger walking into the road and then walking straight towards me. So I know where it's coming from. I set up my shot, and as soon as that tiger steps into the frame, as soon as I click on its head, it locks. And then it just follows it all the way until it gets to the minimum focusing distance. And if for any reason it jumps off, you just tap on it again and it refocuses. But I think the point is that I think that the DSLRs, they have to keep up with technology. Otherwise, it's just going to become irrelevant overnight. So that's what I love about the new technology, and relatively inexpensive new technology. Like the 90D is what I think a very reasonably priced camera with an exceptional high frame rate, great video capabilities. So fortunately there are options, and I must admit I'm very, very pleasantly surprised. But like I said, I'm very open to mirrorless, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to actually put one properly through a test, hopefully do a full safari with one to see. And, doing this day in and day out, it'll be very quick and easy to see what the advantages and the disadvantages are.
Yeah, so basically you shot your D90 as a mirrorless camera.
Yeah, pretty much. But the thing is, what's nice is that it has got the good enough built-in focusing system to keep up with it. It's one thing to be able to do it in live view, but if it doesn't track the animal, it's pointless. So you go on a Nikon D850, which I thought would have fantastic video capabilities, but its AF is horrible. So trying to track an animal on it in live view is near impossible. So it's a fantastic camera, one of the best DSL, or the best DSL body I've ever shot with or owned when it comes to stills, but rubbish for video. It was jumping all the time. And here comes this tiny little Canon 90D, and I'm doing exactly the same thing, but it's keeping focus. So technology changes, and I'm glad to see that Canon and Nikon, I'm sure for that matter, they are addressing those things, and they do make the necessary changes.
Yeah, I know that the technology coming is amazing, but you'll soon be able to pick up a lot of second-hand cameras for very cheap, because a lot of photographers are going to have to start selling gear after this whole Corona thing.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you're right. One very quick thing on the mirrorless things that maybe you can tell me. One concern that I certainly have is battery life. Is that something that they've addressed? Is it bad? Is it good? Is it not as bad as people say?
The EOS R takes the same battery as the Canon 70 Mark II, 5D Mark IV, 6D, and I'm pretty correct. Your D90 takes that E5 camera, the E5 battery as well. The same battery.
It does. Yeah.
So, and you probably have already a big stash of those batteries on hand as backup batteries.
Oh, looks like we're breaking up a little bit.
You there?
Sorry, Dewald, it looks like we're just breaking up a little bit.
You there?
Dewald, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Dewald, I'm gonna, if you give me 2 seconds, I'm just gonna create a hotspot. My Wi-Fi's had a big drop, so I'm gonna just quickly create a hotspot for my computer, and then hopefully we'll be able to be good.
Perfect.
Give me 2 seconds. I don't know. I hope Zoom's not going to kick me off while I jump over onto the phone, but I've just done it now. So let's see what happens. Dewald, can you still hear me?
I'm hearing you perfectly.
Okay, perfect. Well, let's leave it like this for now. There was just a very, very big sudden drop. Let's keep going, and if we run into trouble, I'll try and make a plan again.
Yeah, what I said is you probably have a big stash of those batteries as backup batteries and everything already. So on the new EOS R, those batteries are interchangeable. I still have batteries that I've got from my 5D Mark II that still works in that camera. And
so it's basically just a case of changing batteries when necessary.
Correct. And I must say it does not last as long as the DSLR. So, okay, in terms of shooting a wedding, where I shoot 10 hours, basically continuous the whole time, I would use 2 batteries on the EOS R, where I would have used only one on the DSLR.
Yeah, that's impressive. I mean, that's absolutely fine for a wedding.
Yeah, no, if you've got a backup battery for your camera, you should be able to be fine for the day. One in the camera, one, and you're not shooting the whole time. You should be fine for the day.
Okay, perfect. Oh, that's good news.
Yeah, the stuff that uses a lot of battery is the Wi-Fi. If you use the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth, the GPS. If you use the GPS in your camera, and yeah, the electronic viewfinder and that kind of stuff do use batteries. So it doesn't last as long, but it's not one of those where you need to have a backpack full of batteries just to get through the day.
Oh, that's good news. That's very good to hear.
Yeah, and I believe the Sonys and stuff is also getting there. The Fuji guys are still battling a little bit, but then again,
it's something that they'll have to address. I'm sure it's something that they're addressing probably as we speak, because it's something that'll drop their sales if they don't sort it out.
Yeah, they might do it to sell more batteries as well.
Fair enough. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them.
They'll probably make more money on a battery than what they do on a camera body. So yeah.
That's actually very funny.
Yeah, so what other interesting things have you got coming up in the near future?
Well, at the moment, I'm spending most of the lockdown creating videos for the Safari Expert YouTube channel. From Monday, I'm going to do a little bird sound challenge. So anybody who's interested in birding, I'm going to put some videos out to challenge your bird call sound, you know, how good you know your bird calls. But in the sort of greater scheme of things or long-term things, we're planning to launch a website soon called Kokobee Creative, which is basically where we'll be selling my wife's art and my wildlife photographs. You know, initially focusing on wall art specifically, but eventually, you know, to be able to print it on anything from cushion covers to cups, t-shirts, you name it, whatever it might be. So my wife is
Yo, you're back.
Let's try again. Here we go.
I've got you.
Sorry, did I cut out big time?
No, you're going to do the website where you're going to be selling your wife's art and your art on as
yeah. So it's basically an opportunity for us to showcase our work and to give people an opportunity to buy high quality sort of fine art, wildlife photos, and you know, and some unique art. So everything that my wife draws, it's not necessarily only, but she's also got sort of underwater themes and mythical creatures and things like that. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how the world reacts to it. And the nice thing is that, again, you've got a global market through the internet. You know, someone can buy it in Japan, or they can buy it in Calgary, or they can buy it in Auckland. You know, the possibilities are endless.
On that subject, when I was in Hoedspruit last year, there's a lot of tourist tourist focused businesses in the little town of Hoedspruit, and obviously there's a lot of people coming through there going to Kruger. So isn't there a market for like a little shop there to sell artwork through?
There's certainly you're right that there are a lot of people coming through, but whether it's really financially worth it to have a shop itself, I'm not convinced. I'll be targeting more people that own houses in the area. I mean, we've got lots of foreigners living on wildlife estates, and they're looking for something unique to decorate their homes with. You know, we can do bespoke things. So if your lodge is called, you know, Villa Kudu, we can draw you a kudu. And then obviously the lodges in the area, a lot of the lodges in the Lowveld are also looking for something unique, whether it's photographs or artwork like this. So we're going to be focusing a little bit more like that, trying to keep our overheads down, and therefore not having a shop specifically, but just having an online presence. And we're lucky in Hoedspruit that we've got a very active Facebook community. So the word spreads very quickly whenever you've got something good to sell or a good service to offer. So Facebook, I do a massive amount of my business through Facebook specifically.
Okay, that's awesome. That's really awesome.
It's very exciting. So yeah, it's exciting times. I'm certainly not stressed about the future. I'm sad that we're going to see so few tourists because of the coronavirus, and I'm obviously even sadder because so many people have had to go through this horrible virus and losing loved ones. And as the days go by, it gets closer and closer as you hear about friends whose friends have passed away. And you know, what's really heartbreaking is the toughest must be how it must be for people being stuck in places much worse than us. We still have our homes. I have a little track around my house, but there are people stuck in New York, you know. At the moment, it's really about being grateful for our blessings and just staying positive and making plans as opposed to you know, getting too frustrated. I actually feel super motivated and super creative. Every lap I run around the house, I think of another video idea. So for some reason, my creative juices are really flowing at the moment.
No, I do a lot of my other work is based in the agricultural sector, and all of them has had really good harvest this year, and there's really good harvest that's going to be coming in. So I'm very positive of what the year ahead still looks like. It's obviously it's tough now because there's no money coming in and no work being done for clients, but I think it's going to be good later on this year.
Well, we also have to remember that we're not the only people going through it. It's the whole world going through it at the same time. So it's about being positive and showing solidarity and focusing on the good stuff. Otherwise, you're going to lose your mind. You know, there's nobody to blame. There's not much that we can do about it. And so for the first time in a long time, our own happiness is in our own hands, because you sit here at home and it's your thoughts that are going to determine your happiness, at least for people like you and me who sit here. We're not struggling with health, or we're still financially okay. So whether we're positive or negative will play a massive role in the next few days, or next few weeks, I should say.
For sure. Right, Villiers, is there anything else you want to chat about? I think
I'm very happy, Dewald. Thanks so much, man, for the opportunity. I really, really appreciate it. I think it's fantastic what you're doing, and I hope you have the time and the will to keep doing it on a regular basis once the lockdown is done, because once we're back to real life, it's easy for things like this to slip through the cracks. But I've really enjoyed it, and I think it's great value added to everybody out there.
My plan is to, once the lockdown is over, to keep going with this once a week at least. And I've already looked at my house. I want to set up a little space where I can film this with proper cameras and mics and broadcast it live, plus also save the audio for podcast purposes.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant idea. I think it's an absolutely brilliant idea, and best of luck, and thanks again for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
And thanks for you, man. Thanks for coming on. It was interesting. It was an informative chat for sure.
Great stuff, Dewald. Well, best of luck for the rest of the lockdown for you and your family.
Same for you. Same for you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, and I must get all your links because I'm going to put all your links into my description so that people can get hold of you.
Perfect. Well, while I've got their attention, go and check out the Safari Expert YouTube channel. Make sure to also subscribe to Dewald's channel. If you're watching this and you haven't clicked that little subscribe button, you've got to do it now, and click the little bell so that you can hear when his next live chat goes on. And then, yeah, keep an eye out for Kokobee Creative, where we'll be sharing some nice new artworks with you. And yeah, check out At Close Quarters if you're thinking of photographing tigers, leopards, lions, anything like that. But I'm sure Dewald will put the links in the description. I'll WhatsApp them to you, Dewald, and then we'll take it from there.
Villiers, thank you so much. Have a great Saturday further.
Thanks, Dewald. You too. Take care.
Cheerio.